All right, so it's Todd Atkins, and I'm here with Rudyard Moncayo. I did a show with him a while back that was really good, and he wanted to come back and discuss some of these hybrid boxing matches. Me and him kind of have a same appeal with it. I think that maybe is a little unique to most MMA fans. Most of them are kind of, I don't know if they're, most of them I think have a negative opinion toward it, but I'm pretty fascinated by the unknown of these matches. And yeah, Roger, I just want to, you could kind of take it away on what your appeal is, and then we can kind of go into the fight.
It's just really exciting for me. You have this really high level MMA guy, this world class grappler, okay, fighting this outrageous personality, okay. But this outrageous personality, he is athletic. He is bringing something to the table. So he has knockout power. He has his athleticism. He has 5 or 6 years of solid boxing training, and he's been knocking out some high profile individuals. The latest fighter he knocked out was what's his name, Ben Askren. Okay, so I think Ben Askren, he did not go in shape for that fight. I think he did not want to fight, but he just did it to do it. But still, regardless, he was still knocked out, and he knocked out Jake Paul knocked out the other previous individuals, the 2 basketball players, or maybe one of them was a basketball player. Yeah. So he's knocking out these high profile athletes, made a name for himself, and now I believe he's getting ready to knock out Tyron Woodley. I don't think Tyron Woodley has the boxing skills to really be too competitive with Jake Paul.
Let's talk about 2 things here. So the element of the size and the skill, which one do you think is a bigger factor?
The skill factor, definitely the skill factor. Okay, I just want to make clear, Tyron Woodley has skills, okay, but he does not have boxing skills. It's two different games, 2 different skill sets. Okay, he can throw hands in MMA, okay, but that's with another guy that's not boxing. That's another guy that's playing the same game. It's in a level playing field. Okay. He has not specifically trained for boxing. Jake Paul has 5 or 6 solid years with high-level coaches, continuously training, very hungry, very athletic, strong, big individual. I think he's just too much for Tyron Woodley, and his camp knows it. Tyron Woodley, I think Jake is in his head, and he also knows it. But like any fine athlete, they're not going to say, "I think he's going to beat me." He's not going to mention that, but I think Jake Paul is in his head, and I really don't think he has the tools. Currently, he does not have the tools to take on Jake Paul.
Right, but what I'm wondering is, Woodley's obviously has a lot of experience in fighting, but
Right.
You think even with Paul's lack of fights, just the experience of the training is going to be enough to carry him?
I think so. I really do, because it's very specific. I'm gonna put it this way, okay? You take a golf player. He has experience swinging a club, right? So what do you follow golf?
Oh, my dad played it a lot, so
All
yeah.
Right. Let's just say Tiger Woods at the top of his game. Okay. Very proficient, very excellent golf player. Now let's put him in a similar sport, hockey. How well do you think Tiger Woods bringing his golf skill set into hockey, which is very similar, how well do you think he's going to do? He is not going to do well. It's a similar skill set, but not right for the game that he's playing. And that's the same thing with Tyron Woodley. He's bringing a similar skill set, but it's not right for boxing. He doesn't have enough training behind him. He doesn't have that training under his belt. He doesn't have that boxing experience to just be fluid with his punches, with his motion, with whatever it is that Jake Paul is bringing to the table. I think Tyron Woodley is going to be too in his head for this fight, and it's going to hinder him.
But what does that say about his training? He was mostly a puncher in MMA. So what does it say about his training for this long that he's not where he needs to be? Because he really only used, but he didn't use his wrestling a lot. He mostly used punches.
Right. But then again, he's fighting guys that aren't high caliber boxers. like I said before, he's playing. They were in an even playing field. It's in the same game. Okay. When he knocked out Robbie Lawler with a big overhand. Robbie Lawler was in boxing. He was in an MMA fight. It's like I said, similar skill set. Okay. So he's going to bring that experience, but it's that same experience that might make him overconfident. Okay. That in itself is a hindrance to Tyrone Woodley because it's not a boxing experience. It's an MMA experience. And it doesn't necessarily translate well into boxing. Just because he can knock somebody out in MMA does not equal, I'm going to knock you out in boxing.
Yeah, and the other element I kind of want to talk to you about is there's no real business going forward for Woodley. There's a lot of business going forward if Paul wins. So are we going to get a fight that's on the up and up Sunday, or what do you think?
You know what? I don't know. I have no idea. I've read about those. They think that Tyrone might be throwing the fight, that that it might be a work. I really don't know. It's anybody's guess. I guess the only people that really know if it's a real fight is the two camps. That's the only thing that I can say about that. But I don't even want to speculate. I really want to see a real athlete, a real fight event. That's what I really am hoping for. And I really pray to God that it's not a work. I don't have anything to say about it. I can't even phantom Tyrone Woodley wanting to throw the fight.
Now, Paul's size, I don't think it's a massive disparity, but maybe
He's
20
6'1".
pounds.
He's 6'1". Regularly walks at over 200 pounds. Tyrone Woodley is 5'9". He's 5'9". What's his walking weight? Maybe like 190, 180, somewhere around there. Okay. So it might not make a big difference, in real life, but I think it will have a psychological difference for the fight. Jake Paul has a reach advantage. He has a size advantage. He has, in my opinion, the skill advantage. And right now, he also has the talking advantage. I think just Tyrone Woodley is hanging on by a thread right now, and he's hoping that he gets through this fight relatively unscathed. I don't think he's going to win. I really think that Tyrone Woodley, based on what I've been reading, based on his conversations with, just with the media, he doesn't sound confident. He just sounds like somebody that wants to win, but it's not sure he's going to win.
Now let's kind of talk about your appeal to the fight. We were talking about this off the record, but I was attracted to the unknown. What really attracted you to this one and the Delahoya Belfort fight we'll talk about later?
Sure. You know what? It's just a fun fight. It is just because it's not so in the norm, because it's out of the normal range of fights. It's not like just pure boxing versus another boxer. It's not pure MMA versus MMA. This is basically a dude that's been training in MMA. Now he's been having some training in boxing, going to fight somebody that's boxing. And I'm curious. I'm really curious if his skill set, if his world-class skill set can transition into boxing, if he can bring that to the table as a boxer. That is the appeal to me. I want to see how well this athlete brings his skill set to this table, which is a whole different buffet than what he was eating before. So I just want to see that. That's what I'm curious about. So that is my appeal.
And how I was watching the open workout, it didn't necessarily seem like a huge crowd was there. What do you make of that?
COVID. That's what I think. COVID. But you know what? Speaking about the open workout, if anybody really wants to see the disparity in skill set, I want you to open up your screen and then minimize it and then open up a different screen and put an open workout with Woodley and then an open workout with Jake Paul. You are going to see with Jake Paul a fluidness in his movement, the way he throws the punches, just in his overall action. Now you compare Tyrone Woodley with Jake Paul in the same. So you're looking at this side by side, okay, with two screens. same open, open workouts. You're going to see Tyrone Woodley. Okay, at least this is what I saw. Kind of like robotic, not fluid, just very kind of stiff. Like somebody that's just learning a skill set that's almost has a grasp, but not really a tight grasp on the skill set. So that is what I saw. And if anybody wants to test my theory, do what I just said. Open up 2 screens right there. Put the open workout side by side. You will see the disparity. And you can't deny it. You'll say, oh, okay, you know what? That dude is correct.
Now, is there some reluctance, you think, to show anything to Jake Paul or vice versa when they do these open workouts? I know sometimes fighters are like that.
You know what? If I was Tyrone Woodley, I would not have been throwing punches. I would have been in there and just made a spectacle of it. I would have been greeting the fans. I would have been maybe just playing with my training partner, but I would not have been throwing punches. I would not have been moving, in the boxing mindset and that skill set that he has. I would keep Jake Paul in the dark of what I might potentially have. That's what I would do if I was Tyrone Woodley. That is the psychological war that I would play with Jake Paul. That's don't show him what you can't do. Let him guess at what you can do. That's basically what I would have done if I was Tyrone Woodley.
Why do you think his trainers chose to do the opposite?
I really don't think they were thinking. I don't think they really thought about that aspect of it. That's what I think. I don't think they were thinking that far ahead. I don't think they're in a psychological warfare right now. I think they're more in the physical warfare. They're not like really thinking about getting into Jake Paul's head. They're thinking about surviving.
So when the fight goes down, I mean, you see Paul winning. How would you see it going?
I see Paul knocking him out. Okay. I think I wrote it, I think on your thread. There was a thread that I put a little while ago. Tyrone Woodley's key to winning. On the outside, stay safe. Stay on the outside. Have Jake Paul chase you. On the inside, dirty boxing. Weigh him down. Frustrate him. Okay, weigh him down, frustrate him. Just get that dirty boxing. Fall on top of him. I would really just, take it to a different level. I would box, but I would sloppy box him because I don't think Tyrone Woodley has that skill set. So to survive and to possibly get the W, that's how I would fight him. Manage the distance, damage on the inside, on the outside, keep frustrate him, have him chase you, tire him down, take the last few seconds of the round by getting back on the inside, punch, 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 maybe winning a decision. I just don't see Jake Paul getting knocked out by Tyrone Woodley.
Yeah, he could be, Woodley might be able to use some of his physicality and maybe kind of throw him to the ground a little bit or whatever. Not like real throws,
not like
but
not like just make it so obvious.
Yeah.
But accidents happen. He can. I would just tire him out. I would make Jake Paul work. That's what I would do if I was Tyrone Woodley. Just make him work, get him frustrated, just get him out of his game. And basically, that's what I would do if I did not have the skill set and I was fighting this guy. That's kind of like how I would play the game.
Now, let's kind of talk a little bit about Delahoya Belfort, because I'm actually kind of more interested in this one because you have two guys. I'd say Belfort is a higher level boxer than Woodley. He almost,
yes.
He boxed a lot in Brazil and he was pursuing the Olympics at one time or was considering it. And then you have Delahoya, one of the best of his era.
Right.
Can his experience get him past this situation?
You know what? That's a tough call because Delahoya brings a boatload of experience. But then again, he's had substance abuse problems. What kind of toll has it taken on his physical body? What is his mental state like? Can he still dig deep in, go to war? Can he still do those things? Um, on the other hand, you know, uh, I'm sorry, Vitor is a big dude. He's a lot bigger. He is used to taking punches from bigger guys. He is a striker. He's obviously not at the level of Delahoya, but I really don't think even right now his size is going to be too much of an advantage, because I think they made an agreement of 190 or 180, something like that. And I think that agreement, if it's true, I'm not entirely sure if that's going to happen. I really don't know the dynamics behind that. But if that is the case, I think that favors De La Hoya a little bit more. But I'm really interested to see. I'm interested to see what his physical aspect in De La Hoya, what is he's actually bringing to the table, after so many years of being out of boxing, of not being competitive in that arena, and just that drinking and the other substance abuse problems that he's had throughout the years. What is this? What's it going to look like? What is he going to look like compared to somebody that, he's still relatively a dangerous guy. He does have punching power, even though his skill set in boxing is not as good as De La Hoya. He's still a dangerous guy because he's so much bigger than De La Hoya, and I think that's going to kind of be maybe a little bit of the evening factor, still favoring De La Hoya if he just outboxes Vitor.
So you think that De La Hoya might win that fight?
You know what? On paper, De La Hoya should win. He should absolutely win this fight if he keeps his distance, if he does punches and moves, if he stays away from actually a war of attrition, if going toe to toe with Vitor Belfort. I really think this is just De La Hoya's, game. I think he should have the skill set. He should still have the physicality. Since he's been training for so long for this now, he should be able to pull it off. The only thing he has to do it, and the only thing he needs to do is just, keep the distance, jab, keep away from the big punches, and if he does go toe to toe, I don't think it's going to work out for De La Hoya in that aspect.
But do you think he can still move at that age enough?
You know what? That is the question. That is the question that needs to be answered. And I think it's going to be answered, when they fight on September 11th. Right now, I don't think he can move like he used to. He is obviously a lot older, but he should still have some of that fluidity of what he used to have. And even that diminished skill set and his fluidity should still be above what Vitor Belfort is bringing to the table.
And what about Silva versus Tito? Someone who's kind of in your area, Tito.
Oh,
what do you think about that one?
Tag me in, Tito. That's what I need to say. He is going to get boxed out. Tito's not a boxer. I think Tito's best fight is when he fought Ken Shamrock. That is his best fight. Okay. When he has gone with strikers, he has always gotten knocked out. He just starts retreating. I don't think he has what it takes. And I think Anderson's skill set with boxing, it's just too much for Tito. He's going to get knocked out. I really don't think it's going to go the distance. I think it's going to be over pretty quick, first, second round. I just don't see Tito doing too well in this particular fight with Anderson Silva.
Yeah, and I think Woodley does some of that too. In some of his fights, all of them lately, he would kind of fight with his back to the fence.
Right.
He'd slowly back up until his back touched the fence, and he'd fight there. Yeah. And he can't do that in this fight. Let himself be put in the ropes or in the corner.
No, and I think that just came with him getting a little older, letting him. I think, once he experienced pain, once he experienced what the other person can do, I think that just kind of took something away from him as a fighter. And then his whole game plan started changing. That happens with a lot of guys once they actually face somebody that can outclass them. And I think Woodley never recovered, and it doesn't seem like he changed his game. And at that point, I think his last 5 fights, he was just fighting with his foot halfway out the door. I don't really think he was into it. I think he was just, let me get out of this. Let me just he was just in a go through the motion kind of guy. That's my opinion on that.
And I think his last fight he did try against Luque. He put forth more of an effort. He did get stopped, but
I think so. You know what?
yeah.
That is true. That is true. He came out a little different. I think he was trying to just tap into his old energy from, when he was on his winning streak. It just so happens, he's fighting younger guys that are just as skilled and are hungry. That's the key factor right now. Hunger. If you're hungry, you're gonna dig deep. You're gonna bring out whatever you can, to get that W. And I just don't think at this point in this time of his life, wherever he is athletically, okay, at that point where he is athletically, I just don't think he has it in him to really dig deep. And I don't think he can. I don't think he physically can. And I don't think mentally he's prepared to even think about those kind of fights right now.
Yeah, I mean, it does concern me what you're saying, because I was hoping we were going to see something, like a little bit of a firefight, before whatever happens as far as it ending. But why did he take the fight if you don't believe he thinks he's going to win?
Money. I think he's getting paid very well. That's just the bottom line. Money. I think, money talks. And when money's on the table, a lot of people are going to listen. They're going to look at that and say, hey, you know what? I want some of this. With this fight, I will make more money than what I did with this. So I really think that's what he's looking at. And I don't blame him. I think, monetarily, it's a smart move. Okay? It's a very smart move. Yeah, sure. Pay me X amount of dollars so I can step in there with you. As far as winning, I really don't think, just based on the interviews and just things that I've seen, just hearing him talk, even what his training partners have kind of said, it's not like they're talking him down, but I'm just trying to listen to some certain key words. And I don't feel that they have the confidence in him winning. I think they want him to win. Okay. And I think that is key. I think they do want him to win, but deep down inside, I think a lot of them don't think he's going to win. So that's a difference, just because they want somebody to win and then actually win in two different strategies there.
I want you to kind of go into the MMA discussion we were having right before I start recording this, where you're kind of talking about Conor and how people are, that's good stuff. And so we're kind of talking about what our appeal is to these fights. And he was getting into maybe how his opinions on the current state of MMA. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. You know what? Okay. So, excuse me, boxing, MMA, okay, UFC. Right now, to me, it is boring. There are no fighters out there that are really, catching my attention. Okay, there's really none. Maybe a handful of them that I'm curious about watching fight, but I'm not excited about them. Okay, the last time I was excited about a fighter was Conor McGregor. Now, if you think back when he first started, he was just Conor McGregor, but then he found his shtick. Okay, he became this outrageous, wild personality. Okay, and he found his groove. Okay, that really catapulted him. He would get into people's head, and all that shit talking, all those outrageous antics that he would do at the press conference with the bus and all that craziness that he just brought. Okay, so now you have all these cookie cutter athletes, all these other cookie cutter fighters. They talk shit on Conor McGregor, but they're trying to do the same thing. Okay, they're trying to just duplicate what he has already been doing instead of bringing something original, instead of creating their own gimmick. Like Colby Covington. Okay, great bad guy. The guy's a dick. So, but people will tune in to watch him lose. Do you understand? Very similar, but different. So I just see a lot of the fighters that are trying to make the name for themselves. They're trying to follow this shtick, and at the same time, they're talking bad. But and then you know what? You flip that coin again. They want to fight the same guy that they're talking shit on because he's doing the same shit that they're actually copying him. Hopefully that makes sense. But that.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're seeing a lot of that. I mean, a lot of it feels forced. I mean, I'm sure the UFC has some to do with that. They
Yeah,
want people to that seems to be what they prefer rather than someone kind of being the traditional martial artist,
right,
but yeah, I agree. A lot of it is cookie cutter, so it's hard to really find something. Although I think the
right. How
fight
can you,
Saturday is going to be good, the main event
yeah,
at least.
how can you get excited about cookie cutter? It's the same fucking cookie. It's just, one after the other. Um, I was gonna say something, and shit, it slipped my mind. But here's the thing. You get the boxing fans and you get the MMA fans and the fight fans. They're so passionate. They are so passionate about their fighter. Okay, they really love their fighters. I don't love the fighters. I love the sport. Okay, so I really enjoy boxing and I enjoy MMA. I like MMA. Okay, I don't care about too much about the fighters. So I think when I look at things, I'm able to look at it objectively. I'm not already prejudging a fighter because I don't care. Even if I like him, I don't care if he wins or lose. Or I love the sport. So I'm judging the fighters when I look at them. Okay, what's his age? What's his experience like? What's his win-loss ratio? Who has he fought? I don't get emotionally involved. I don't because I like this guy. I don't get crazy about he's gonna win and he's like just the best thing to hit. It just becomes like, can Batman beat Superman? That's how I see it. It gets really wonky. So I do my best just to stay objective when I'm looking at the fighters. I just run down and I think for the most part I'm very analytical when I'm looking at the fighters, and I keep emotions out of it, and so I think I'm pretty accurate with my predictions. I think most of the time I'm pretty positive. It's like in the 90% prediction ratio. And I think one of the best things that has helped me with that is just being emotionally just non-emotion into it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I really don't care who wins or loses a fight these days. I think, when you and me have been, you've been in it as long as and we've all watched it for a long time. But
Yeah,
I was wondering, I wanted to ask you about did you watch Pacquiao Ugas?
I did not.
Okay.
You know what? I did not. I was this whole month. It's our wedding anniversary. With my wife. So we've been traveling a lot. We've been doing so many things. I did not have a chance to watch it. I know his opponent. Both of their opponents got changed. Um, so, or both of them had an eye injury. Both opponents had an eye injury, and they brought in, the fighter from Pacquiao. Um, I cannot I can't even comment. I didn't watch it. I feel bad that Pacquiao lost. From what I read, he was competitive. I think the first few rounds, but I mean the other guy is a big dude. I think what is he, light middleweight? Light middleweight.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the fight we're talking about. Not that Woodley's comparable to Pacquiao, but I'm just saying the size
Right.
was too much for Pacquiao to deal with.
Size makes a difference. Size. I mean, if you have two guys that have even skill, okay, the bigger dude, 99.9% of the time is going to win. And I think that's what happened to Pacquiao. I think their skill set was comparable. Okay, they're some of them can, one guy can do one thing better than the other, but overall comparable. The bigger dude won. The bigger dude out jabbed him, out muscled him, outworked him. Okay, and that was a long run fight. So that's basically what I think, and that's what I think is going to happen with these fights coming up, and then also with Anderson Silva Tito. Skill's going to win. Those guys are comparable in size. In this case, Skill is going to win, and Anderson has 3 or 4 notches way above than what Tito Ortiz is bringing to the table.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about this Michael Chandler thing. That's what I was thinking in my head. I'm not trying to be political, but when Chandler originally said he wouldn't get the vaccine, He said, I'm not getting it because it's not FDA approved.
Right. And now
So
it's
when it
FDA
got
approved.
approved, now he still doesn't want to get it, which that's fine if he doesn't want to get it. But what I'm saying is, why not just say you weren't going to get it, period, to start with? Because now he's opened himself up to ridicule. Some people think he's using it to duck the fight because it is in New York,
Right.
you know. And I mean, I don't, I'm not saying it's right for the government to be pushing it as hard as they are. I think it's going to end up being in all the states that they're going to do this. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think if fighters aren't going to get it done, eventually it might become a problem. I don't think Dana White has the power that he thinks he has to. I think New York will turn around and say, "Yeah, well, you can't have your event then."
I think that might happen. I think that's a big possibility, especially with the times that we're living in right now. COVID, COVID does suck. Now back to Chandler. Yeah, you know what? He did say that. I don't think he was anticipating the FDA approving the vaccine so soon. Maybe in the long run or in hindsight, he should have said, "I don't want to get the vaccine." Period. And you know what? You don't have to explain why.
Right.
It's right there in the sentence. I don't want to get the vaccine. Why? Because I don't want to get the vaccine. I'm going to go on a tangent, but I think in hindsight, that's just what he should have said. He didn't say it, so now he's getting ridiculed and he's backtracking. Saying the other thing in the first place would have avoided a lot of conflict. But I don't really think he was thinking that far ahead. I don't think anybody anticipated the vaccine being FDA approved, anytime soon. So that's kind of like what I think. But
and do you think that's going to happen to where it might be harder for them to put on shows, not just the UFC, but everybody?
I think across the board,
feels like the way the government is talking, it feels like this is coming. And I mean, I've seen it. I live in Oklahoma. This is about as conservative place you can get. A lot of the venues here, small venues, they're saying you're not getting in here without this card. So they don't care that we're in Oklahoma. So it just feels like this is coming, and it's coming everywhere.
You know what? Sadly, I feel the same way too. My personal take on it, it should be a choice. But then again, I've never lived through a pandemic. I don't know what's associated with it. I don't know what the political outcome is going to be. I don't know what the end game is. All I know is just I've never been in a pandemic. I'm going through this thing day by day. Should I take the vaccine? Should I not take the vaccine? What's my next step if I do? What's my next step if I stay unvaccinated? Or, just I can't even begin to even talk about it. It's just some craziness. My personal feelings on it. I really think it should be a choice, a personal choice. But the way things are going, especially with the things that I do, and I love traveling. My wife and I travel all the time. If we want to continue doing that, I really think that's the direction that I have to take. But I'm actually really sad, and emotionally, I'm very upset that I'm forced to make this choice, because it's not really a choice. Forced choice is not a choice. So if I want to go to Rome, I have to be vaccinated, or whatnot. It's just the choice has been taken away, and I think that sucks. But then on the other side of that, I've never been through a pandemic. I've read about what's happened. 2 to 3 years, it's still live. 2 to 3 years, it starts dying out. But I mean, I really don't know now how people are going to deal with it if they're forced to make a choice. I think just really across the board, people are very divided on that.
And I think, our government is seeing things like in Australia, where they're kind of on the more extreme side of the spectrum. They're not letting people do anything pretty much.
No.
And I'm wondering if they're looking at that saying, maybe we could do some of that.
They might be.
Yeah.
I mean, our whole government system might be changing soon. I don't even want to speculate, but it looks like it. I mean, it feels like it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And all indications is we're moving in that direction, slowly but surely, slowly but surely. I want you to think about something. How do you cook a duck? If you throw that duck in boiling water, it's going to jump right out. But if you cook that duck while the water's cool and you slowly raise that temperature, it's going to die in there. So they might be just raising the temperature. They're not throwing all that shit at us. It's just little by little, but
And
that's
you're in California, so you've probably been slow cooked already a little bit.
a little.
California's been
cooked.
a little stricter than the other states for the most part.
Yeah, I feel slow cooked. I'm telling you, I don't feel the same as I did 2 years ago. But it is crazy. It is some crazy stuff. But I what? Fuck COVID.
Yeah, I mean, you had it, right? Didn't you get sick with
Yeah,
it?
oh my God, dude. I was so sick. I'm still feeling the effects of it. Fog brain. It is crazy. Sometimes I can't think. When we did the interview, I could not think. The words weren't coming out. That fluidity, it was not there. I have PTSD from it. I really do. 3 months that I could not breathe. It is because I do meditating. I'm used to slowing my breathing. Okay, so I'm used to like calming myself because I'm such a hyper guy. I had to find things growing up to calm myself and bring me to that center. I could not breathe. I felt like somebody was covering my mouth. At the same time, pressing on my chest. I was being waterboarded 3 to 4 months, night and day. I was hallucinating. It was some crazy shit. That not getting that oxygen that your brain needs. The panic started coming in. It was awful. The panic, that claustrophobia, because I could not breathe. Everything just started closing out on me. It is really hard to explain emotionally how I felt. I swear to God, it was just fucking pure will, the love for my daughter and my wife, and fuck the haters. That's the shit that fucking really fueled me. I was like, I can't give these motherfuckers satisfaction. I stepped outside. I zinc, vitamin E, vitamin C, lots of sunshine, fucking almost naked. Out there, just getting my body healthy. And the hardest thing was the fucking breathing. I could not breathe. It really, cover your mouth, have someone stand in your fucking chest. And it was fucking worse than that because I could not breathe. My skin was gray. My lips were blue. I could not breathe. I was about to get put on the ventilator. I refused it. I said, fuck you. Fuck that. I'm not going to fucking do that. There's no way I'm going to do that. If you continue like this is what's going to have to happen. I'm like, nope. Fuck it. No. Oxygen tank. Fuck it. I started doing my own research because I wasn't getting any fucking help. I wasn't getting any help about it. Currently, I'm on steroids. I'm on growth hormone, and testosterone. My body slowly started recovering. The doctor that I talked to, you need a ventilator. Open up your lungs. Go to the pharmacy. Get yourself that expectorant. Get that shit out of your lungs. That stuff that was in my lungs, black and smelly. I was spitting that crap out. But you know what? Once I started that treatment, once I got that ventilator, once my bronchioles and everything started opening up, it was a fucking miracle. Like everything started changing. Like I was able to breathe. My breathing got better. It was just craziness. Even now walking up the stairs, I'm an athletic guy. I'm very athletic. It's not like I'm a couch potato and just sit around all fucking day. I move, I run, I jog, I bike, I still box, I still kickbox, I still do jujitsu. But now after COVID, that lung power that I had, it is gone. It is not there, but it's slowly coming back. But it's a long haul. And once in a while, that brain fog kicks in. Once in a while, that hard time with breathing kicks in. But you know what? I just center myself. I just take it a minute at a time, a minute at a time. But yeah, there's some serious PTSD in the airplane. I felt so claustrophobic. It was crazy. I mean, I've been flying all my life, and it's claustrophobic. I don't know if anybody's ever had a panic attack or had that claustrophobia. I wanted to fucking get the fuck off that airplane. I wanted to get out, but you know what? I literally just said, you know what? I just need a center. I just take it minute by minute, minute by minute. And that's the way I dealt with it. I went to Disneyland. I got on the fucking rides in Disneyland. Same shit. Okay. What the fuck? It is this. I'm telling you, that shit was crazy. Man, it is some wackiness.
But now that you've been sick with it, did they tell you it's similar to having the vaccine, right? You probably don't need the vaccine.
You know what? They asked me to put off on it for a little while because my immune system right now is still a little compromised. I'm still rebuilding. Okay. So if I should have a reaction to the vaccine, or if I should get it again, I'm in for a fight. And so,
but it wouldn't affect you as much if you got the COVID again. Did they tell you that? I've heard, like you get antibodies. Do you know anything about that?
They don't know. That's what they said. They can speculate, but they don't really know. That's but at how I feel, I don't want to risk it. So I'm getting my body strong. I work out every day. I'm getting my cardio back up. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't want to speculate if I can take it at this moment. I know mentally, I'm strong as fuck. So yeah, mentally I can take it. Physically, there's a little doubt. There's a little bit of doubt in there, and I don't want to put that shit to the test right now. So, if it happens, I'll deal with it. I don't want it to happen, but I'm not going to speculate, and that's what I was told. They're on the fence. With me specifically, I don't know what they're telling everybody or what. I know what the media says. If you have it, you're somewhat protected to it. I also think it depends on how your body is feeling, how you reacted to it, and I myself had a bad reaction to it. So I don't want to put that to the test right now. But
yeah, I've never felt sick like I was positive for anything. When this first happened, I lived in Japan for a few years, so people wore masks out there in the winter all the time. I just put it on, when I went into store or whatever.
Right.
And then the VA asked me to come if I wanted to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
And so I did there in February, and then my work said we want everyone to come back and we'll vaccinate you here at work for free. So I took it. This was in March. So the first one was February. The second one was March. Right. Since then, I've never worn a mask. Only maybe a couple, like when I go to the VA, or a hospital, I'll put one on. But other than that, I haven't. And I feel I've never gotten sick with this. I may have had it before. I don't know, but I've never had any kind of nothing more than a cold.
And you're lucky. You're lucky. I don't want to experience that again. Because that emotional battle and that physical battle that I went through, it was a fucking fight, dude. And it is literally the hardest fight, the hardest thing I have ever gone through in my whole life. I was afraid to sleep because I couldn't breathe. When I start falling asleep and my body started relaxing, my breathing would shut down. I had to think about breathing, and it would hurt to breathe. That's the other thing. It hurt so bad. It was painful. It was so painful. And I just said, fuck it. I'm breathing. And just imagine that. Feeling like if someone's stabbing you in the chest all day, all night, and you still had to breathe. And and that's not an exaggeration. It felt like if my lungs were being compressed and stabbed. It was awful. It sucked. It really sucked. And I think,
does it make you hesitant to go places after going through this?
Yes, you know what? It is a battle. Um, it is for me. It is a mental battle, and I go out and I can't explain it. It's always in the back of my head. Um, I just move through it, and but yeah, there's a little bit of hesitancy, to go places, um, and but I don't let it stop me. I mean, I'm not being irresponsible. I don't have it now, but I'm not being irresponsible. I wear my mask, do whatever the fuck I need to do, and then I just do it. But it is in the back of my head, that because it was scary. It really was. It wasn't something that you know what even the person that I dislike the most in this fucking world, I would not want them to go through that shit. It's not a good feeling, and I think that I'm lucky. Like seriously, I made a post on my birthday, because I hadn't said too much yet, and I said something like, you know, sooner or later, Father Time is undefeated, um, and I just said I'm putting up a good fight, and this year's been, crazy or some shit like that. But let me tell you, it was a fucking fight, and it was seriously a fight for my life, and I'm blessed to be here. I'm not even fucking around. It's like seriously, I'm lucky as fuck to be talking to you or doing that crazy shit that that I've been doing. But yeah, don't get COVID, dude.
Yeah,
If you
I
get
mean,
COVID,
guys like Paul Varlins, he didn't make it through.
no. You know what? I remembered him during that stuff, and it was awful. I'm a little emotional about it. It's hard to put into words. Let me just bring myself back down. When I was going through that was scary, because reading about the people that have had it and how they were affected and how they're no longer here, that's scary as fuck when you're going through it. And you know what? I just used that energy to motivate me to fucking fight through whatever it is that I was feeling. I couldn't breathe too fucking bad. Keep breathing. Okay. Your lungs hurt. Fucking take a deeper breath. And seriously, it was just a fucking struggle, minute by minute, and it was just something like I felt I had to do. I'm not minimizing what happened to Paul, anything like that, or anybody. Their family, they're going through a hard time. You know, they miss the person that they love. That is a fact. I'm not trying to discredit or minimize, their death. But the things that I read, the things that I heard, I use that just to empower me, just to give me that strength, just to one more hour, one more day. Let's do this. It was serious. It was a serious battle, and I can't really just vocalize it. All I can just say, it was a fucking hard ass battle. you know, it was crazy.
But you
And
talk.
now I'm going.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
ask you.
Sure.
You talk. They offered you the ventilator. Had you taken that, you probably wouldn't have made it. Most
I don't
people
think I would have
don't
made
once
it.
they.
Yeah, they didn't outright offer it. What they said was, if you continue like this is what's going to happen. And I'm like, fuck that. Fuck that. And then I had to sign the sheet that I refused it. And that was that, and didn't come up anymore. But fuck that. There's no way. There's no way, especially with all the crazy shit that I was reading. There's no way I was going to let them put me on that. You know what? If I went, I was going to go on my terms, fighting my fight. You understand? But it was going to be on my terms. And I know what I'm made of inside. And I just said, you know what? I have a better chance is fucking doing this. And that's what I did. But I think this is the most I've ever shared with anybody. Obviously my wife saw, some family members saw, but I mean, nobody really knows the experience. And let me just say, it wasn't a good experience at all. there's no way I want to go through it again. There's no way that my worst enemy, that I would want him to go through it, because it's not a good experience. I think I was just very lucky. Uh, I think certain things fell into place that allowed me to be here now. Uh, and I think just my basic intestinal fortitude, my mental makeup also helped a lot. But overall, let me just tell you, it is the fucking shittiest experience that anybody can have. And I'm still going through the fucking traumatic effect from it. My nose gets stuffy, instant paranoia, instant claustrophobia. It's just crazy. I can't even begin to explain just kind of the shit that's going on.
But I'm wondering, like, because you chose not to go on it.
Yep.
I mean, I know they don't have statistics on this kind of thing, and you would think if it was better not to go on it, the doctors would tell people. Maybe. Is it better not to go on it?
I can't answer that. You know what? Because that would be just really what's the word I'm looking for? Irresponsible of me saying not to go on it. Because you know what? Somebody might really need it. Somebody might really need that ventilator. And then if they just by chance listen to this segment where I say, don't go on it, and they don't take it, that's irresponsible. I think if that choice ever came up, that is your choice that you have to run with your family. You can't go based on what I'm saying. You can't go based on what anybody says. You have to go based on your personal situation. In my personal situation, I chose the alternate. I said, fuck it. I'm going to fight this thing. I'm not going to lay there and, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm going to fucking dig deep, and I'm going to just fucking grit my fucking way through it. That was me. But I can't tell you to do that. I can't tell you to, not to get on the ventilator, because that is very irresponsible of me to tell you how you should manage your health. That is not something I can, just say, yeah, don't do it. I can't. It's your personal situation. It's whatever that you're fighting, whatever the circumstances dictate in your situation.
So stuff you were coughing up, like how much was it a day and how long did it go on?
It went on for months. It was gray, black, stinky shit. That's what it was. Spit it up, spitting it out, continuously spitting it out, keeping my lungs clear. It went on for a few months, and then once in a while, it pops back up on those days that I'm having a hard time breathing. But overall, those days are far and few. They hardly ever happen. But it might be, I don't know what it is. Lung infection. I have no idea. But it wasn't good. And now when it happens, I get a little paranoid. I wonder if it's gonna, escalate and get worse, or if it's just, something that I'm experiencing at that moment, and I just need to, stay level-headed, stay calm, because it'll pass. So those are the things that I think about every time I experience some of this stuff. And then, the brain fog, the body weakness, that I couldn't walk from one room to the other. I was exhausted. It was crazy. It was crazy walking from one room to the other. I break out in a sweat, and I just, oh my God, I got to rest. It wasn't fun, and I can laugh at it now, but I'm laughing because it fucking hurt so bad. It was just some craziness.
So, do you have any other good Joe Son stories?
No, man, that fucker pulled a gun on me. That was it. He's a crazy fuck.
Do you remember? Do you remember, like, maybe where you were when you heard he was killed in prison?
Say it again.
He was killed in prison. Do you remember hearing about it? or do you remember
Who
me?
was killed in prison?
Joe Son.
I
You
had
didn't
no
know
idea
that?
he died. I did not know.
Yeah.
I did not know he died.
Yeah, I think his cellmate or somebody.
Are you sure?
Yeah, yeah. I'll look it up here, but yeah, I'm pretty positive. Um, I forgot when this was, but I'll look it up right quick.
Yeah, man. All I remember is I got so lucky that I decided to stop and get a burger and not go to my house.
No, what it was he killed. He was accused of killing his cellmate. That's what it was.
Yeah, he killed his
Yeah,
cellmate. Yeah, I
yeah.
knew about that. I knew he killed his cellmate. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, it's that guy wasn't there, man. I knew he wasn't there, and I just did not like him around. You know, that guy, he would stab you in the back for reals, and I mean literally, not figuratively. That guy would literally stab you in the back. You know, he always wanted to go to my house. I never told him where I live. I always had an excuse to why he should not go to my house. I said, nope, I'm going over here. Nope, I'm going over there. Hey man, I'm tired. Can we stop and sleep at your house? Nope, I'm going over here to the casino. Never, ever. I just didn't trust him. You know, my instincts were right on about that guy. You know, there's always something going on. And I just feel bad what he did to that poor girl. You know, now he's just paying for it. I hope he just rots in jail for the rest of his life. That is not a good person.
Do you have any other stories? The end, the other guys from Huntington that maybe we didn't talk about before, because that was kind of what you were around, right?
Yeah, man. You know what? I pretty much grew up in Huntington Beach. That was my old stomping grounds. There's really nothing. You know, we ran into Tank Abbott a few times, but you know the persona that he had, you know, in the UFC, it's a little similar, but not as crazy as in person. You know, you see me, say what's up, and keep going. Um, you know, nothing crazy. You know, I almost got in a fight with John Lober once, but that was squashed quickly. You know, but there's really nothing. Nobody goes around looking, you know, for other fighters to fight. You know, and I certainly don't go to bars and sucker punch people that don't expect it. You know, that's not. You know, there's really no interesting stories in that aspect. I think I said before, you know what, it paints me in a bad picture, but you know, just got to put the time frame and my personality with it. My thing was just girls. You know, I, I was a good looking kid, and girls, you know, they were there and they love fighters and they just wanted to hang out. And you know, I said that I loved to party, but I was still responsible. I was still a responsible guy. You know, my form of partying was just, you know, going out, playing some pool, going bowling, you know, have a few dates, go back to the house. You know, that was the extent of my stuff that I did. You know, it wasn't anything crazy. You know, I've known my wife since she was 17 years old. For a minute, for a time, we were roommates. You know, what I really love about her, this goes back to the women. She saw the revolving door. She saw all those girls. And you know what? And now she's with me and she didn't care. You know, she knows, you know, he loves me for who I am, not for the things and the girls, you know, that I was with. She just said, you know what, you're a cool dude. You're a good man. And, you know, so basically that's, you know, that's my wife. You know, she's seen the craziness and she accepts it.
But you were in a small fish, a small bowl that had a lot of fish in it already as far as the fight scene went, because
Yeah.
there were so many of them coming out of there. I figured maybe you had not negative experiences, but just, experiences with a variety of people who were
You know
on
what?
the scene at that time.
You, there was a lot of the fighters. Okay. So a lot of the guys, you know, they saw me get in it. So obviously they searched me out and I helped them get into the UFC or, you know, Battlecade. I would introduce them to John Perretti, or I would show them which direction to take so they can also fight in the UFC or, you know, extreme fighting. So a lot of the guys, I'm not going to mention names, you know, I'm not going to say who, you know, but there's a big, you know, double digits that guys that I helped specifically get into, you know, the UFC or John Perretti, or introduce them to key people to get them in, you know, in the fights. Um, those are my stories. I really wasn't. I think just to basically understand it, I was more concerned with work, school, girls, training, instead of just hanging out with a group of people. I wasn't, when I go to party, they were there. I wouldn't stay there all night. I'd just, meet up with some friends and then I'd bounce. It wasn't really, I wasn't, uh, I was social, but not too social, if that makes sense. So the people that I knew, it was just on a topical level, very friendly. If they needed something, I would help them. I helped a lot of the guys. There's two specific people I helped get into stunts, and that was through John Perretti. He helped me get into the stunt world. But like if I had stories, it'd be very boring unless it had to do something with women. So basically, that's pretty much it.
What do you think about John being a sheriff?
I think that's awesome. Are you friends with John?
I haven't talked to him in a while since then. I guess no one's able to get, he's wanting to lay low because he's a sheriff now and probably doesn't want to be John Perretti, the person that that he was known for being kind of when he did interviews, he'd kind of be kind of standoffish. Yeah. That was kind of his gimmick, I think. I think it was a shtick to some degree.
You talk to John Perretti, he's a really bright guy. I like that he's direct. Okay, he says things the way he sees them, not necessarily how they are, but how he sees them. Mm-hmm. And I like that because he speaks his mind, and you know where you stand with him. If he doesn't like you, he'll tell you he doesn't like you. And if he does like you, will just fucking do favors for you. So I like him because most people see him and they get afraid of him because he's just so direct. He has such a strong personality, but he is just a really good guy. I love John. And you know what? I'm so grateful for him because he helped me out so much. And then some of the people that I brought to him, I saw who he didn't like, and he's just said, fuck them. And then I saw who he did like, and then just took them under the wing and helped them out too. And just, you don't have those many guys around. And that's what I like about him, because you know exactly where you stand and how he feels about you. You're not guessing. It is just boom, straight across the board. That guy likes me, he'll have my back. That guy doesn't like me, he's going to kick my ass. So as far as being a sheriff, I think he takes that personality. I think he takes that street smart, and then also that just, that really solid, sharp mind that he has. I think he takes that into sheriff, and I think he's going to be a great sheriff, if not already so. I just think it's a good fit for him. I think he has a personality for him.
Yeah, he's been doing it a while, apparently. But part of me feels like he was so integral in building the sport into what it is today that he should be getting like a monthly payment of something and just kind of sitting on his butt somewhere,
I know, right? I know he was key. I mean, he was key into bringing in the 5-minute rounds, to breaking the sport down into 5-minute rounds, the gloves, the judging criteria. That guy was very instrumental into the current sport that we have right now, into the MMA sport. Like, he was the catalyst for what we have now. Before him, okay, we had, what was it? NHB, okay, no holds barred. Very just, it was kind of like a circuit show. Okay, let me step back real quick. I'm gonna personal, going back to me. I've been asked to do the UFC plenty of times. I did number 6, and then I was asked to do 7. I think at that time it was Giants versus Goliath versus David. They wanted me as Goliath, but they had the Goliath versus David show, and I said no. Okay, and then I think it was a little later, when I did Battlecade. So Battlecade 1, and he had it broken down into rounds. I think Battlecade 2, he introduced the gloves. I'm not sure. I might be getting the history confused, but the rounds and the and the gloves, they're his thing. He brought that into the sport. He turned NHB into a solid sport. Weight divisions, rounds, gloves, and rules. It wasn't just no eye gouging, no kicking in the nuts, no pulling the hair, shit like that. It was actual rules, that he started coming forth with. So that guy was, John's very instrumental in the sport that we now have. Obviously it has metamorphed since when he was. It's even bigger now. But that guy at that point, you can pinpoint where it just exploded into the sport we currently have. So he was a template.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when Dana White, he says like Bruce Lee is the founding father of mixed martial art. I feel like it was John Perretti. John Perretti, it was a 5-weight class sport from the very beginning. He had rounds, he had gloves, all the things that this sport is now came from him.
Yeah.
And his name isn't mentioned anywhere.
It is not. He was like erased from the history. I'm going to touch on Bruce Lee real quick. Dana White says that shit because he's piggybacking on the fan base for Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was a fucking actor, an actor. His sensei, Yip Man, was a fucking opium fiend. Okay, he wasn't really just, those are my thoughts. Okay, so I don't know if you're a Bruce Lee fan or not, but Bruce Lee.
I kind of feel the same way a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, actor. So all the Bruce Lee fans out there, he was an actor. I would mop the floor with him. Okay, 130-pound guy, 5'6", actor, pretended to fight. I'm not saying he wasn't a martial artist. He was a martial artist, but there's a vast difference between being an actual fighter and a martial artist. This guy was a martial artist, not a fighter. Okay, look at his YouTube videos. When he's punching the bags and stuff, sloppy at best. Okay, it is so funny that people even think that he can fight or that he would have been competitive in the UFC. He could have been a water boy. That's what he could have been for, in the UFC. I just have so much energy on this because it's crazy that they think this little guy could have really, competed when he wasn't a fighter. It's just funny.
Yeah, and I also think a lot of people have a romanticized idea about what the sport is, but really it was like I come back to John Peretti's ideas are what the sport is. It's not some guy in the Shaolin temple. Nope. John Perretti sat down. He said, how could this work to where it could be something that the public could be palatable? How can we make it a sport? And those were his ideas, not Bruce Lee, not some Shaolin monk. Nope. It was John Perretti, and he's not in the UFC Hall of Fame. He never gets mentioned. I'm sure he rubs somebody the wrong way that's there, maybe Dana White. But yeah, it's a shame that, he should be sitting around somewhere, just getting a paycheck from the UFC for the rest of his life.
He should. Every month for life. Direct deposit. That's what he should be getting. Yeah. He planted the seeds and they blossomed. And now we have the sport, MMA, in this company that's taking over MMA, UFC. That's what we currently have.
And they take all the credit, saying, we look for sanctioning, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. Peretti was already looking into that. They were already had gotten sanctioned like Atlantic City, but the sport itself, those are all his ideas, basically.
Yeah.
He used almost all of them.
According to, the powers that be of the UFC, they created the sport. That is not true. John Perretti didn't create the sport. He just evolved the sport. He has the template. So he had the template of what we currently have. It was his ingenuity that just kind of like got the ball rolling. They got people thinking, well, let's add this, let's do this. But, he was just the template for the sport that we have now, his innovative thinking. And, not many people know that. You have some MMA fans that have never heard of John Perretti or his show The Contender or his show Battle Cave, nothing like that. They just think UFC and now Bellator. They don't know anything about the backstories, which is a damn shame because he's not only a good guy, he, like I said already, I don't know, dozen times, instrumental, for the sport that we currently have.
Now, when you met him, because like we're talking about him in a creative sense. Now, when you met him, was he just kind of coming at you from the fighter direction? I want you to fight, or was he because the sport was new? Was he kind of saying, "Look, this is what I want to do"? Did he ever tell you that kind of stuff, or was it more like, "Hey, I want you to fight," that kind of deal?
No. Okay. So both things are true. What you just said, both things are true. So I was introduced to John Perretti through Phyllis Lee. It was right after my fight for the UFC. And then, we got to talking. We started talking on the phone. We struck up a friendship. And he told me about all these ideas that he had for the sport. And I thought they sounded great. I really liked what he was thinking. That is one of the main reasons I never went back and fought for the UFC, just because of everything that he told me. And flash forward, everything that he told me came to pass. But let me digress now. So now he would also talk to me as a fighter. He gave me pointers. I was very young back then. So he gave me pointers on what he thinks that I should work on. He would specifically come down to California because he was in New York at the time. And every time he came down, we met up and we just roll, we box, we kickbox, we grapple, we go hang out at Gina Bell's. And every time we had these great conversations and I would introduce him to the other fighters. And, he was just very instrumental in just planning some really good ideas of what he thought a human being should also be. What he thought, what made a powerful man. So he had this kind of thinking too. So he not only mentored me, in the fight game, he not only mentored me with, some personal advice. He also mentored me on just career advice. And I'm just grateful. I know I digress from what the original topic is, but going back to it, yes, he did talk to me like a fighter, but he also talked to me as a creative thinker with what he wanted to do with the sport that he was creating.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I've always wanted to do like a John Peretti type show, maybe bringing in some people because like you and me have been saying right here, he's the founding father, whether people want to say it or not. He is,
Right.
and it's not Bruce Lee, it's not some guy from, a kung fu movie.
Definitely not.
It's him. He sat down and he kind of mapped all this stuff out into
Yeah,
what it
you
would
know what? He
become.
really did. I remember it was at Battlecade. Okay, so it was at Battlecade. He brought out, he goes, "Hey, I want you to take a look at this." And he pulled out this brown bag, and inside of that bag was another brown bag wrapped, something wrapped, and then he pulled them out. And that was these gloves. And he says, "This is what you're going to be wearing. This is the direction of MMA. This is the direction of the sport we're taking." And I think he called it mixed martial arts, MMA. I think he did. This is direction. This is what I'm looking at. These are the gloves, that I have prototype. Um, and I want you to try them on. So tried them on. He did this. I remember he asked me a few questions about it. He wrote down some stuff. And that was that. And I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only guy he asked. I'm sure he was having everybody, give their input on it, because I think at that point, he was either creating them or making what he had already created with Dr. Swanik, I believe, making the product even better. So that I'm not too sure specifically what he was doing, but those are the things that, I do recall that him and I had that interaction.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I always found interesting about him is he was looking for ways to improve what he was doing.
Yeah.
That were practical from a fighting or martial arts sense.
That is true. So when he went to the UFC, so I think once he closed down Battlecade, okay, so I think maybe a year, within the year, small time frame, he went and became the matchmaker for the UFC. He brought in some new ideas. I don't really recall like what exactly the innovative the changes that he had made for the UFC. I do know it might have rubbed some people the wrong way, but having him at the UFC, that was great. He brought in a lot of talent, and I don't think people remember that. He discovered some really good fighters, and basically gave them their start back in the UFC. And he also gave me the chance to go back and fight the UFC. he offered me a few fights. I said no. And the one time later on when I did say yes, okay, I'll come back and do it. I ended up getting injured, so I didn't compete in the UFC. But, he always saw the potential in people. He knew, because he's a fighter, he was a fighting matchmaker. Okay, so he would travel and he would look at the fighters. He'd actually go and fight the fighters, like real far with them, and say, you know what, I like your skill set. Let's talk a little bit. Let's see if we can put you in this show. Let's see what we can do with that skill set of yours. Let's see if we can, get something going with you. And that's the type of guy that he was. He wasn't afraid to, get his feet wet and, get dirty. And, he's just probably the last of the real tough guys.
Well, it was great talking to you, man. And I'd like to talk to you after this fight happens, because you got a passion for these kind of matches that I don't think many people have. And I think it'd be great to have you on to kind of, look at some of what we thought and see how it plays out.
You know what? I think it's going to play out the way I said it would. I'd be really surprised if it doesn't, but let's talk about it afterwards. Let's compare notes. Let's see, if we were right on, with our thought process, with this fight. And then maybe we can do one down the line with the Delahoya or, something. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more fights that we can just chat it up with.
Yeah, maybe we can wait for that one too, because it's going to be September 11th. So we could let them both go, kind of think about it a little bit, what we saw, and then do it. I think it'd be good.
Yeah. Hey, man, I had fun. Thanks for having me on your show. I look forward to doing it again.
I appreciate it. And it'll be great to talk to you after the fights are over.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, bro. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.